right, good morning, Canada. So, we've covered this topic on the show, but it's one where we want to get your take on. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the ongoing U.S.-Canada trade war. Canada recently responded last week with more than $16 billion in retaliatory tariffs on U.S. steel and aluminum products. And a new survey conducted by Nanos Research found many Canadians, about 38%, are concerned about Trump's claim the trade dispute will prove costly for Canada. AM and Priya, good morning. Do you feel like this trade dispute will end anytime soon?
I don't think so, given the people that we've spoken to on this show. Everybody has a desire for consensus, but right now we don't seem to be in that place where we can find a happy middle ground. Also interesting on those numbers that you put up is the 57% of Canadians who said they didn't want to travel to the States.
Yeah. Priya, I know you came from Halifax. What is the mood in the Maritimes?
It's very similar, especially, seafood is one of the things that has been affected as well, and that is going to be affected. So that's been a hot topic there. And a lot of people kind of trying to come up with solutions, like what can we do to sort of alleviate some of the financial pressure that it's putting on Canadian businesses. So it's definitely a conversation that's going to continue, I think.
Yeah, for sure. So this survey, as AM pointed out, found that 57% of Canadians actually will stop traveling to the States in the meantime, and 43% of Canadians are likely to boycott U.S. goods. So that is something that is really interesting because we know that the supply chain is so interconnected. I mean, you have products and you have from Canada and from the States that all go into making the final product. So it's kind of hard to do that.
Well, you've got distribution. So it may be made in one country but distributed by Canada or by the U.S. So how do you untangle that?
Exactly. Well, the thing is that there is a movement right now, not just on social media, but with politicians, where we're trying to basically, galvanize a patriotic support for our country. Because, we know that Canada sometimes can be very regional. You have the East Coast, you have Ontario, you have Quebec, then you have Western Canada. But it seems like whenever we're attacked as a country, we find a way to come together. But we have to look at the facts, where we talk about how big the States is in terms of a trading partner. And when we say big, they are massive. Take a look at these stats here because they are our biggest trading partner. They make up over 75% of the trade that we do around the globe. But if you look at the other top five, they pale in comparison. I mean, not even 5% is our next biggest trading partner, which is China. So you're seeing just how much the U.S. is worth in terms of our GDP. Like, we are an exporting nation, right? We produce goods that we sell across the globe because our economy is small. Right? We only have so much people that can buy products. So if we want to expand, we have to sell internationally. We rely on exporting those goods. And the U.S., obviously, as we know, is one of our biggest trading partners. So here's the big question. We want to support our own, but how do we do that? We want to bring this on a micro level. So as a consumer, when you go to the grocery store, when you go to the electronics store, how can you support Canadian? Well, we want to take a look at some of those products that you're going to start to see the price increase. And then we want to show you some alternatives that you can buy that will support jobs right here at home. So everybody loves ketchup?
Yes.
You guys love ketchup on your... Of course. All right. So ketchup is one of the products that you'll start to see the price increase. One of the biggest global players, which is Heinz, we might remember back in 2014 when they moved their operations from Leamington, Ontario to Ohio. Well, thanks to these new tariffs, you're going to start to see ketchup prices, well, if you buy Heinz, increase. However, there is a way to support Canadian. Everybody know the company French's? Well, they're based in the States, yes, but they produce and they get their tomatoes from Leamington. So while you can still support Canada by buying French's, it is an American company, but you are still supporting Canadian jobs. So that's one example. What about orange juice? Does everybody love a good OJ in the morning?
Yes.
All right. Well, AM, I know you love coffee. Priya, I know you love your...
I love coffee, too.
You love coffee. Yeah, I love my tea with a splash of coffee. But OJ, we know, comes from Florida, right? And Florida is a big place where you get your fresh orange juice. But there is still a way to support Canadian. Minute Maid actually manufactures their OJ in Peterborough, Ontario. So you can support and you can still get your glass of OJ by buying Minute Maid, and you're supporting Canadian jobs right here in Ontario.
Interesting.
All right, what about toilet paper? We all need toilet paper.
I thought you were going to ask who likes toilet paper. And I'm going to say, well, I don't know anyone who doesn't enjoy toilet paper.
Well, I'm just saying you're always going to need toilet
Everyone
paper.
does. You're right.
It's one of those products that you can't get away from. Well, we know one of the biggest toilet paper makers, their operations are based in the States, but there are Canadian brands that you can support, like Charmaine, for example. They actually have...
Charmin, yeah.
Or Cascades, they're Quebec.
okay.
They have many manufacturers and producers in Quebec, but also in the Greater Toronto area. So when you're buying a Cascade product, you're supporting jobs right here in Canada. Maple syrup, another big one. We think about maple syrup being solely Canadian, coming from Quebec, but actually some places in Canada still import maple syrup from the state of Maine. Still, though, the majority of maple syrup still comes from Quebec and Ontario, for example. But if you want to stick it to the States, you just buy, obviously, Quebec-made syrup or Ontario-made maple syrup. Those are some ways that you can do that. So those are some examples, but it's still important to recognize that, like we said, the supply chain is so interconnected. So you do want to make sure you're looking at the labels. If it says made in Canada, then it is definitely made in Canada. If it says produced in Canada, then there's differences there because sometimes it can just be packaged, while if it says made in Canada, that means all the elements were made right here in our country. So this is what I want to ask Canadians right across this beautiful country. Here's your hashtag, your take question. Canada-U.S. trade war. Are you trying to buy more Canadian products? Hit us up on social media. Let us know how this is affecting you. After the break, more news and weather.